That's good, is it? Oh, that's much better.
Yes. Okay.
Yay! So all your high vibrational chats start out like this today.
Yes. Yeah. Every single one of them. Every single one of them.
How strange. Yeah. Well, it's not strange, is it? But
Sandra Walter, we had to go on Facebook Live, and she was a little picture in the. I had to turn it on. We're actually live now. It's probably going to be about 30 or 45 seconds for people come in, because they were going to delete it. They only give you 10 minutes to do it. So I'm going to make my introduction. Hello, Magenta Pixie.
Hello, Todd.
Thank you for your service to humanity. Thank you for coming on and honoring us with your presence and sharing space with us today. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I've checked out your work on YouTube over the years, and very wide range of knowledge and experience. Very interesting too. A lot of people follow you in the Soulogy group. Yeah. So thank you for that. And thank you for coming on.
Thank you. And obviously we haven't introduced each other until just now, because we were trying to get technical. Can I turn off these little movements from people as they're not that I don't want to see them. It's just that
there should be. I've never been on that side, but there should be some drop downs where you can move it out of the way.
Okay.
Or maybe
it's not too bad. It's just obviously it's a bit of a distraction. Maybe I'll put my book over it.
Yeah, there you go. Do that. Oh, wait a minute.
Okay.
No,
wait a minute. No good.
So, wait a minute. They're saying they can't hear us.
Oh, really? Right. Oh, okay.
No, that's really weird.
So we can hear each other, but no one can hear us. Okay.
Wait a minute. Wait. Don't get off yet. No, this happened. Okay. Can you guys hear us out there? Sometimes it's on their end. And I've noticed that happens a little bit when the broadcast starts, but I think that's on their end. Hang on one second. I think we're fine. I can hear you. Okay, we're good. I good. Anyone? Well, they can't hear me. Let's do sign language. Anyone that can't hear us, go out and come back in. And yes, they can hear us both. We're good. We're good.
Okay.
Yes. Wow, this is.
You can hear us. Sorry, you can hear us talking?
Yeah.
Okay. No, they can hear us now.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. No. My partner just was checking downstairs on his laptop to check our sound, but he said he can hear us fine.
Okay.
So
fantastic. We got 70 people in the house already.
Hello.
All right. Well, there's a lot of new names here. I'm sure they're followers of yours. Let me introduce myself. My name's Todd Medina. This is the Soulogy Network. This is our primary show, which is SoulSpeaks 5D. It's a conversation with Magenta Pixie today. We just have a conversation and talk about real-time intel and whatever comes up. And this is about our 450th show. So thank you so much for coming in. And thank you, Rosie Neal, for contacting you and getting this set up.
Wow, you've done 450 shows.
Yeah, we've done 450 of shows like this. We've done over 3,000 videos. But,
amazing.
But it's this is. I just looked at it a couple days ago, and it was about 445. So moving pretty fast. We do quite a few a week. Yeah, I'm really happy to get you on here too. All right. So
excellent.
You've been out there for quite some time. I don't know how long you've been out there, but I know you've been out there for quite some time, because I've been
10 years.
10 years. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're going back to 2008.
10 years online.
Oh, 10 years online.
So it's a decade. Yeah.
That's a traveled journey light worker.
It's gone so quick. I can't believe it's 10 years since I started uploading videos on YouTube. I didn't even realize until this year, 2018, come April, I thought, I started uploading in 2008, April. I've been on YouTube a decade, and I just can't believe it. It's just, there's no time when you're in that zone, is there?
Right. Where are you at? Are you in London? Is that where you're at?
No. Everyone thinks I'm in London. So 2 hours from London, towards the south. So crop circle country, you've got Wiltshire. I'm I'm 2 counties away from Wiltshire. So you've got Wiltshire, Dorset, Hampshire. I'm on the Dorset Hampshire border, right by where all the crop circles. I'm an hour and a half from Glastonbury, an hour and a half from Avebury. So that's where I am.
Wow, that's awesome. That's where a lot of very mystical things are happening. We've got some good friends over in that neighborhood. We just did
There's tons of us here. It's a huge network. There's so many light workers in this area. It's amazing.
Yeah. Yes. We had a beautiful 2 ceremonies with Amanda Lawrence on the solstice over at the tour. We're actually yeah, they were incredible. She buried a rose heart quartz, and people around the world that tuned in. There was about 200 people on live at the time, and a lot of people buried the same thing. Hey, Amanda, she's there right now, and we're actually having we're actually having a Soulogy event in London on the 6th of July at the Deja Vu Gardens restaurant.
I'm just writing that down.
Yeah,
Deja Vu restaurant. Where is that in London?
It's somebody said it was it's July the 6th, Deja Vu Gardens restaurant, and I guess I saw somebody wrote the other day, is it in T17 or something like that? So do they have districts like that? I'm not really sure. I've never been there, but I'll get you the information. Yeah,
is it Kew? It's not Kew Gardens?
No, it's Deja Vu Gardens.
Deja Vu Gardens. Okay, I'll check that out. So are you in England now?
No, I'm actually right now in New Jersey, just outside of New York City. I've been traveling all over doing this for 7 years. We're trying to find a place to land now, and a lot of people are kicking in to help us, thanks to Amanda and a few other people. But yeah, so someone like you, people will look at it and say, "Wow, she's got this and got that," and you've been a great teacher. You've been a great teacher for so many people. Somebody said E17, whatever that means.
Yeah, E17. Okay, yeah.
So were you born this way, or did you wake up like a lot of us did at a certain point?
Yeah, I mean, I guess all the starseeds were born this way, actually. It just depends on, when they realize that. So obviously as a child, there were all sorts of things going on, but I just felt that the way I was normal. So I'd have imaginary friends. I would sense fairies in the garden. I sensed beings the whole time. My whole childhood, to be honest, I didn't come into the body. I didn't come into this realm. I lived in my imagination. My parents were really, really worried about me. Not my father. He wasn't, because he was kind of like me. But my mother was really worried about me, and she kept threatening to take me off to a psychiatrist. But because she was afraid of doctors, she never ever did that. And luckily, my parents were both in the theatre. My mother was a ballet dancer and choreographer, and my father was an opera singer. And then they went to do summer season, pantomime, etc. So I grew up around the theatre, where there's all sorts of deep thinking, talented, creative, crazy people, if you like. So yes. I kind of thought that the way I was just because I'd grown up with people like me. So the only time I got distressed, I do remember around 7, was when I had memories come back of remembering that there was a time when I could move things with my mind. And I also felt that this reality was that I was blocked, that I couldn't do the things. I remember being able to fly. I remembered being able to be so much more free. And I felt that this reality was stifling and that I was blocked. It seemed old fashioned to me in some way, but I was only 7 when I had these memories, so I didn't understand them. I just knew that the only time I felt happy was either with all the theatre people or in my imagination. And I would get a tennis ball. This started around the age of 7. I'd bang a tennis ball against the wall in my bedroom, drive my mother, drive her crazy, telling myself stories. And then as I got older, we had a detached house, and I would walk round and round and round the house, starting from the minute I got home from school at about 3:30, and I'd be out there till 10 o'clock at night, and my mum would be shouting at me to come in. And I couldn't live in the real world. I would tell myself stories, and I guess the bouncing of the tennis ball was like a beat, like a drumming to get me into that zone. But I didn't understand any of this, and I would literally, get my tennis ball and bounce it around, and I would start with I would either talk to people, so I'd be, "Hi, Sarah, how are you? Have you been to the park today? I saw you down there." Or I would be a narrator, and I would be,
Yeah.
Magenta and Sarah went to the park, and while they were sat on the park beach, something happened every single night. I just didn't want to be in the real world. So, yeah, I was very out of the body as a child. And I only really came into the body around puberty time when I started to notice boys. And that was the only thing that made me be happy that, oh, there's boys. That's interesting. I like them, And I was around sort of, 13 at that age. So up until 13, I had lived from birth in an imaginary world, complete escapism, basically.
Well, you were in reality.
Exactly. Yeah,
Great.
but I wasn't in 3D, and I guess you have to get into 3D as well. So, how things started consciously for me, my father took me into hypnosis at the age of 11. Although he was an opera singer, he did stage hypnotism with all the cast, and then that slowly developed into hypnotherapy. So at first it was like a test. Could he, play with the minds of the cast and friends, and he did some crazy things, and had cast members wake up at 3 a.m. and shout Geronimo out of the window, and then he realized his hypnosis was working, and then he went into hypnotherapy. So he started hypnotizing me as a young child, actually around 3 or 4, to take headaches away. When I was 11, I was struggling with swimming. I was still wearing what you call water wings, at 11 years old. So he would take me in through a series of hypnosis. But my parents had split up, so I didn't see my father very often. So I was in the real 3D world and constantly being told to stop daydreaming and knuckle under and sort yourself out, basically, from my mum and my stepfather. But when my father visited, it's like, yay, hypnosis time and long, detailed philosophical conversations. And so I had him there, but it was intermittent. So those hypnosis sessions started around 11, and then it wasn't very long before within those sessions, a being would start to speak through me to my father. And I would kind of lose my awareness, not completely. I didn't lose my memory like some people will in hypnosis. I had a very dreamy, altered state of memory, but I did have memory. And this male being would communicate with my father and say the reason why she's not doing well at school with swimming is because, and then this being would then proceed to tell my father why I wasn't swimming, what was going on at school, what he could do to help me, etc., etc. So he would work with this being, and my father would tell me that this being was my subconscious mind. And obviously I took that on board because he was my teacher and I was only 11. So I would call this being subby because to me it was an entity. But I now realize that, yes, it's an entity, and yes, it was my subconscious mind, and it's the same thing. So that all started at the age of 11. And of course, once you start speaking that way, once the brain starts to work that way, it remembers. And so when I started to consciously work towards channeling, I made a conscious decision in early 1993, after a series of synchronicities and life situations. I made a conscious decision to connect with a spirit guide, because my brain knew what to do from all those childhood hypnosis sessions. I connected very, very quickly with that same entity, but obviously in a completely different form. So I connected in 1993 with a spirit guide by the name of White Spirit, who was a fifth dimensional entity. And then around the year 2000, that upgraded to one white-winged being. And then very shortly afterwards, that one white-winged being morphed into a collective, and there were 9 of them. And then shortly after, I asked them, if you keep upgrading, can you upgrade again? What's your true form? And then I would see the non-form, the geometry, the universal space, and vortexes, and sort of warp speed travel through universal star systems, etc. So that all started around the year 2000. And then in the year 2008, I'd been very private with this. Not something I ever intended to talk about, really, because when I did, most people thought I was completely nuts. And so it was just something I did privately, and I wasn't really confident enough either to share my communications either. I thought they were just for me, although I did actually wonder, why are you giving me so much knowledge for just me?
Right.
Am I not supposed to share this, at some point? So in the 2008, that's when they said it's time to go public. And I said, what do you mean? And they said, tell people you talk to us. And I'm like, who do you want me to tell? And they basically said everybody. I'm like, what? So that's when things started. And that was around January 2008 that they said go public. And then I started uploading videos to YouTube in April, which was just a complete spur of the moment idea after seeing someone else who was a channel had uploaded. It was Ricer, actually, Ricer5. He'd uploaded videos on YouTube, and I saw his videos, and I said to my partner, if I bring some channeling forward from the 9, do you think you could make some visuals and we'll make a video? So that's how it started. And then when people started to write to me and ask questions, and when I realized that people didn't know the answers, and I could help them, because at that time I thought, well, surely everyone must know this stuff, really.
Right.
But of course they didn't. And then I realized that I could help people. And so, I thought to myself, if I can just help one, even if there's 100 people saying you're awful and you're really terrible and you're talking nonsense, get off YouTube. If there was just one person that was helped, then I would not stop. And I haven't stopped. So that's the story, really.
Thank you for not stopping. Thank you. And you've written some books, and you've done plenty of videos. What's it like to have started coming out like that in 2008 and to see where we're at now? And things are moving so rapidly now.
They are. Well, obviously, I saw what's happening now. I saw back then. I could see how things were going to go. But when you see things, it's like you see a timeline and you see a potential, but when you're in the 3D sort of ego-based self, you can then talk yourself out of what you see and think, oh no, that's not really true. So you're in this duality. So in 2008, there was a part of me that felt that this was destined, that this was all pre-planned, that I was supposed to do this. And there was another part of me that was really scared and really unsure, especially when messages came forward that I did not understand. So I'd bring forward an entire channeling in this altered state, very similar to the state of hypnosis my father would take me into at the age of 11. And of course it is. It's the 9 say it's the same state. You're just awake, not lying down with your eyes closed. So you're not in a trance, but it's still the same brainwave state. So when I bring forward messages that I didn't understand, and I'd read them, and I would think, well, this sounds okay, but I don't really know what it means. And I would have to trust the 9, and they would assure me to upload this video. It was a leap of faith to upload information that I didn't understand. And then I would have people write to me who did understand, and they would write me messages and say something about the messages, and I would be honest and write back and say, I'm so glad to hear from you, because I don't really understand this myself. So I would have people help me to understand my own channeling in the early days, and that sort of still happens in a way. And the reason being is when you are in a state of communication with that subconscious mind, superconscious mind, channeled state, higher being, multidimensional entity, whatever you want to call it, you're actually in a future state if you look at that energy from a linear point of view. So you've actually shot light years into the future if you want to look at yourself as a being going through evolution. When you come back into your third dimensional state, you've gone back to the past. So therefore, you may not understand what you have just picked up, because what you've just picked up is from a place of expansion, future self, or no time. And then you reevaluate that when you're in the third dimensional self. So it works like that. Any channel, any genuine channel who's making a link, and channel doesn't have to be the word. You can use all sorts of words to explain this. You get to a point where you pick things up that are sort of in a future zone from where you are, and then your physical body has to catch up. Of course, that's what's happening globally right now. You know, we're all creating this fifth dimensional Earth, if you like, but we're all in third dimensional Earth. And when we're in 5D, we're light years in the future. When we're back in 3D, we're in linear time. That's just a model to explain it. So that's why it works that way.
So as an example, these nine could very well, they're obviously, or would correct me if I'm wrong, aspects of yourself, future multiple aspects of yourself congregating to commune with you in a language that isn't human. And as you pull it in, even with your experience, it still takes a little time to catch up to it. Is that
exactly? That's exactly how it is. But one step further is they're me in the future, but they are me in the future when they present as the nine in the form that they do with the energy frequency that they have that's connected to me. But then if you look at the nine in a more of an expansive entirety, they're actually all of us, because the nine are part of a group soul network that is all of our fifth dimensional aspects. If you take every single channel in the world and all of their guides of positive polarization within a service to others frequency, they are actually aspects of a oneness, as we all are. But they're more of a oneness than we are, because they are more in unity than we are. So yes, they're me, but they're us as well. But then when I explain this to people, some people get upset with this and say, well, are you saying your nine is me? So you're saying your higher self's my higher self. And I'm saying, no, not on a linear level. There is a separateness, there is uniqueness, but on a multidimensional level, our guidance system is one group soul entity, because you've got one positive polarized frequency and one negatively polarized frequency with a neutrality in between. So ultimately, if you want to break that frequency down, there are three aspects to that unity. Anyone within service to others polarization, which is you, me, and everyone in this chat room, then we're all with the same entity from that point of view.
Right on. Yeah, that makes total sense. You speak a lot and write a lot about twin flames, and what is your view, or what do you understand about the role that twin flames are playing in this transition we call ascension?
Well, twin flames are playing an extremely pivotal role and an extremely centralized role from different directional viewpoints. For example, the true twin flame is the higher self. So you become the twin in your duality, as in 3D, 5D, physical self, non-physical self, matter, antimatter. So you can see that twin flame as the higher aspect of you and say it's above you in a vertical sense. This is just a model for our third dimensional brain to understand that frequency, that code, that matrix. So in a vertical sense, we're here in this vertical pillar, and above us we have our twin flame, which is our true self, our higher self. But then, of course, we have this in a physical sense within the third dimension. And how that works is, again, we can have an aspect of ourselves in a horizontal sense, as in looking at our quantum self and all the different choices that we could make and all the decisions that we have to make and all the different timelines that we are operating within. Or you can actually externalize that purely into a physical sense and manifest a frequency match in another person that mirrors your frequency. So there can be a twin flame couple where you mirror the higher self of that person, if you like, and that person mirrors the higher self of you. So you have a cross like this. You know, you're here, and your higher selves are here. But you can also go into a balance, a swing, which isn't really a twin flame, but it's still a teaching relationship. It's still a great learning curve, where if you are perhaps too far balanced into positivity without grounding, then you can perhaps manifest a a polarity in your relationship. That's not really a twin flame, but that's a common relationship. But with the twin flames, when you connect with your twin flame, obviously you are moving into unification, you are integrating the aspects of self, you are ascending, if you like, you are moving into this ascension process, merging the third dimensional, fourth dimensional, fifth dimensional aspects of yourself. But on the physical level, twin flames are great support for one another, great learning for one another. They amplify one another's frequency. Their timelines merge, as in they take on one another's karma, they neutralize one another's karma, they heal one another. And as they get together, the frequency within them creates like it's kind of like an amplification, like an echo. So if you go into a room and you speak and you hear an echo, then that's what the twin flames do. They amplify one another. When they're in resonance, when they're in cohesive resonance to one another, they amplify one another's frequency. That creates a powerful feedback system. So, when you're looking at the whole planet and you're looking at all the frequencies and the raising of positive polarization and service to others, which is what we're here to do. The whole planet is ascending. Twin flames are crucial in that, but that does not have to be done in a partnership. It's often misinterpreted, because you can actually have polygamous groups that are in a twin flame mirroring. You can have, open relationships. You can have people that are single that are working with this vertical polarity, and you can have traditional one-on-one relationships as well. So there are many ways to work with that energy. As long as there's purity within heart and cohesive energy, then that is a twin flame frequency. And there's many ways that can be manifested here in the physical reality.
Excellent. Now you've been connecting for a long, long time. More and more people are starting to connect. Seems to be a pretty profound and expanding galactic star family influence and integration. Do you have any thoughts? Do you have any thoughts on that?
You're completely correct. That's exactly what's happening, and it is amazing. And you can see this. It's like a snowball effect, that little snowball rolling down the hill, gathering more and more snow, more and more momentum, and then many, many snowballs. I mean, it's extremely expansive and exponential. So what used to be perhaps the conscious aware community, or the light work community, or the new age community, back in sort of when I first started making this connection in 1993, it seemed to me that energetically it was a certain group of people that had woken up, and everything was being recycled within that same group, whether they were in the UK or in the States or wherever they were. There wasn't any sort of domino effect particularly going on. So things were being recycled, but of course we were all in the dress rehearsal phase back then. We were all paving the way for the actual raising of that frequency, which is now. So now that community across the world is going into a domino effect, has been since before 2012. This started very much so around 2011, really, at the 11/11/11. So we have a domino effect here. So people are waking up all the time, and they're waking up in different arenas. So you've got people waking up, activating the DNA, who don't want anything to do with light workers or the new age or spirituality, but they are still waking up and they're still activating the DNA, and they're catching on to that, and they're being led to other ways of thinking and other philosophies, even if they might not actually embrace that community or that network as such. We've got people in the fitness arena, the raw food arena, different types of nutrition, creativity, music, journalism, even politics. People are waking up everywhere. So
being pushed by a higher intention of the heart, a unity consciousness, even if they're not in the same circles we might be. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. Exactly. And this is a mission, really, that they have created a trajectory for themselves, a life plan, a blueprint prior to their incarnation. And that's only in a linear sense, because when you actually wake up, everything becomes nonlinear. You're in that 0 point and there is no blueprint. You create everything as you go along. But when you look at it in a linear sense, people are actually getting onto that mission path, that trajectory towards bliss, towards activation, towards the collective ascension process. It's happening on a very large scale. It's a huge consciousness shift. And this isn't something that's just hidden away in, sort of obscure websites. This is full on front door, making it into mainstream now. I mean, it's everywhere. You speak to everyone and somehow, some way, it's touching them. So you might look at somebody, you think, well, they're totally 3D. They have no spiritual beliefs or any awareness. They're not aware of the cabal or the control structure or anything. And yet they're having strange dreams, or they're seeing the numbers 1111, or they've just got feelings that they're missing out on something and there's something they need to do. So it's actually touching everyone with that service to others, true desire within for peace and harmony and love, because that's what every human being wants, unless you are polarizing within a service to self frequency, and then you'll be looking for something else. So
it sounds a lot like you were talking about the twin flames. That's the label we're using, how they created an echo. These groups, these ones you were talking about, for instance, in the early 90s, that were just being recycled within the group itself, started expanding and creating an echo. We're doing that in this broadcast. These people that are with us today are part of that. That energy is creating an echo and affecting our brothers and sisters around the world.
Absolutely, yes. Every single person who makes that connection, you don't have to be a twin flame. Obviously, if you're in a relationship with someone, it's very intense. So if there's much growth going on in a twin flame relationship, there's a unity, and as the two come together, they create a third entity, which is the relationship itself, and that relationship itself is a little mini group soul, so each twin flame. So that's what we do in group sessions. So yes, you and I would be doing the same thing and creating that higher entity. So you've got Magenta and Todd, and then you've got the creation that's Magenta Todd. And what is that? That's a higher energy. That is a creation, a collaboration between you and I, which is a specific frequency. So if every single aware person does that, and imagine if they do that at the same time, the power that they would have. Well, of course, that's what's happening. This is happening at the same time. Right now, if you look at the aware individuals, there is never a time when they're all shut off and they're all in 3D and they've all forgotten everything and they've all gone back to a double helix configuration. Never. Right now there is always a large group of these individuals online, so they are creating this higher frequency and they are steering the ship of Earth, creating the timelines for Earth. And it's the first time this has happened in this particular time period that we know of in our known history. Obviously this has happened in civilizations such as Lemuria, Atlantis, etc., but I'm talking about in this history, in this known history time period, this hasn't happened before, because this has been a service to self-led planetary system. It's been the service to self entities and the third dimensional individuals that have created the timelines for this planet through the dark machinations, the dark magic, etc., etc., and that's all changed. It's no longer, this planet is no longer controlled and steered. No matter how much they try to get that control back, they don't have it.
No,
it's the service to others.
Yeah, it's you can see it slipping away. So, and and having to have this discussion, this transition, we have to use linear and human language.
Yes,
a little bit, but things seem to be moving so fast. I'd love to get your view on. And again, from a linear scale, it seems like we could literally be in a totally different planet in 3 months, 4 months, 6 months. I mean, it's moving that fast. I'm seeing magic in my life and the people around me, the circles I'm in, and it just seems to be a matter of having faith in that and stepping into that and away from this illusionary 3D. Do you think things could change that quickly on a linear scale, collectively?
things are changing collectively minute by minute right now. So yes, absolutely. As long as we are aware that we are anchored in 3D at the same time we are flying free within these multidimensional worlds. So when you look at those multidimensional worlds, there are many, many different Earths. They are vertically aligned, horizontally aligned, diagonally aligned, if you like. They are quantum, and we can jump to these different Earths, if you like. But right now, the collective, the starseeds, predominantly as a unified collective, where they are, and I don't mean everyone, because there will be others on the edge that are embracing more multidimensional thinking. Where we are right now as a collective is in a state of moving well, we've moved out of this double helix configuration into this triple helix configuration, and we're moving into this beyond the triple helix configuration. So we are embracing duality of thinking. The nine call this bilocational consciousness, and we're moving into a trilocational consciousness. So the way to look at these different Earths that we can produce and create for ourselves is to, I think about 6 months ago, we were all looking at this 2 Earth split, and that's still very predominant now, 3D Earth and 5D Earth. But we can also now see the 3 Earth model. Basically, it's exactly the same thing. It's just taking us into multidimensionality, because ultimately there are infinite Earths. But it's very difficult for us to create infinite Earths in a linear sense. So now the 9 specifically are talking about presenting 3. So we can call them 3D, 5D and 7D, and you would have the moving through 4D as the bridge to 5D. You'd have the moving through 6D as a bridge to 7D. It's simply just one model, and you will have many individuals who are moving into 0 point frequency where they don't see any Earths, because they are simply everything in themselves. So those people, they don't need to look at 3, 4, 5, 6, 7D. They are utterly in the 0 point space, and that's where we all are. But in order to teach this, in order to talk about it, in order to make sense of it in a linear sense, we have to decode this multidimensional code, which is simply frequency. It's frequency. So how do we decode this frequency? So we take this frequency and we do our best to create a model or an explanation or a language to be able to decode this frequency. So that's what these 3 Earths mean. So in answer to your question, in 6 months, are we going to be in a very different Earth? Well, the star seeds are. They are jumping through stargates exponentially. They are in sort of what you would call warp speed, space travel. They are going through these Einstein-Rosen bridge consciousness structures, and they are moving incredibly fast, and they are changing the landscape of this planet multidimensionally. But then you look at the individuals who haven't woken up yet, and they are still remaining in this linear reality. Therefore, they remain within this 3rd dimensional Earth, if you like. Now, what's so interesting about this, the 9 have been telling me, and this is all in my the latest transmission from them, my latest book. What they're saying is there are many individuals within the 3rd dimensional Earth system that are of a pure heart, and they have the ability to be able to make this jump into this multidimensional reality to 5D. Ultimately, that's where we're going, but we can look at 7D as well, because some people are able to project themselves there. But let's just look at 5D. Some of these individuals are able to make that jump, but because of trauma, getting caught in the control system, they haven't woken up, they haven't remembered, but they still have the energy frequency. They can't do it on their own. They aren't able to create what the 9 call blue starfire, warp speed, momentum. It is a DNA frequency. It's actually a real frequency within our DNA, a real configuration, a real energy. It's light that we are creating within our bodies. These individuals, they have the ability to do this, but something has blocked or prevented them from being able to do this themselves. They can't create enough of this momentum, this blue star fire, to make this jump. So these aware individuals that are traveling through warp speed right now, in and out of 0 point or remaining in 0 point all the time, able to see this multidimensional reality, what they do is they create like a world of their own, if you like. They become a Stargate themselves, and they can actually, and the analogy the Nine use is they are dragon riders, and it's a very good analogy because the dragon is a memory code. All starseeds will be called by the dragon at some point in their life. Many will have been called as children by the dragon. So they're dragon riders. They create a dragon, and how they do this is they change the configuration of the DNA structure from a swirling toroidal system into a DNA configuration that looks like a sort of a long line that goes through itself. It's like a threading the needle. It's like that analogy in the Bible. It says it's more difficult for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven than it is for a camel to go through the eye of a needle. So what they're doing is they're camels going through the eye of the needle. They are the only ones that are entering the kingdom of heaven because they are no longer rich, as in materially connected within the linear realm. They have let go of their riches, let go of their wealth, given up all their worldly goods and followed Jesus, if you like. These are all the codes within the Bible. They're all accurate to what we're doing. So what the analogy is we create this dragon, and it's a very good analogy because dragon's breath we know as fire, blue star fire. Fire is momentum. Fire is the way that the cosmic matter, or rather antimatter, or the merge between the two. It looks like fire clairvoyantly. It's actually plasma, so it is fire, and that's within the DNA structure. So we do literally create this sort of dragon-like, snake-like configuration. And what we do, if you use the analogy of us being the dragon rider on the dragon, our dragon is so huge that we can let loads of other people on our dragon. So we steer the dragon, and we've got several million people on our dragon, and all the starseeds are doing this. So we're carrying others through this bridge, this Stargate, into 5D, because they can't quite raise that frequency themselves. But if they have a pure heart, the other analogy is there's a train coming, and there's several trains, and there's a train driver, and they're opening the doors, and loads of people are getting on. They're taking passengers. So that's what's happening. And those that are steering that ship, or riding that train, or the dragon rider, they're the ones creating these Earths that we are moving to. So wherever the starseeds are collectively is where we are going, or what we're creating when it comes to the reality that we have and the Earth that we experience, even though we're all physically on the same planet.
Yes. You know, and I know you understand this because you've been doing this for so long. I woke up in 2011, and like many starseeds, it took a long time to get to the point where we had the spiritual confidence to be really walking in this power. But it's been a tough road. I think things are obviously in the last few months, especially the last 2 or 3 months, there's been a lot of people stepping up, and more every day. What advice would you give? Because starseeds are definitely service to the collective. We know that. Simultaneously service to higher self, service to the collective. What advice would you give a transitioning starseed who's just now coming into their own?
You mean a newly awakened starseed?
Well, one who's, because you know how it was. You would, like you were describing earlier, you would connect up there, then you come back down here, and you're like, hey, did I really hear that? Did I really see that? Am I crazy? But I think we've gotten past that now, and a lot of us are saying, hey, you know what? I don't need money. I don't need this. I can make the magic every day. I can make the alchemy every day. But there's no rules. There's no owner's manual. What advice, with your experience, would you give? Because we have the same objective, all of us. What would you give to those who are starting to come into their own and really owning the fact that they are starseeds?
Well, what I would say to them is ultimately following your joy and your bliss and what feels right to you, what feels in alignment to you is the path for you. You can't get your path wrong when it feels right, but one needs to learn what that means. And there are ways to find that discernment. We are going through right now a collective discernment. So we'll be presented. We're also going through the deluge. So this is a deluge of information at the same time as us having a collective lesson in discernment. So there will be individuals, structures, belief systems presenting themselves in all the starseeds' lives, and some will be in alignment and accurate and good and joyful, and others won't feel right. And some starseeds will feel that this person or this group or this structure is off and dark. Other starseeds will think, no, they're not. They're good and they're light. So we're learning discernment. We're learning to follow that inner compass. That when you get that, then that will lead you. And it is easier said than done. There is a really easy way to do it, and that is to talk to yourself, especially out loud, because when you have opened those pathways within, or expanded your frequency, or upgraded your chakras, or reconfigured the DNA, there is a memory that's reverberating within the system, and that memory is knowing. And the entire energy system holds this, and it's knowing of all, as in everything that's ever happened, everything that's happening now, and everything that will ever happen in all timelines and all probabilities. You can actually discover this through talking to yourself. So say my name is Magenta, I can say my name is Magenta. Or really, I would say my YouTube username is Magenta. My magical name is Magenta. That's more in alignment because my birth name is Petra. So I would say my name is Petra. And you can see the alignment, especially when you are working with energy. There isn't any right way to do this. You may see something, you may feel something, but if you don't, then that's where I would start. So if your name is Susan, sit down and say, my name is Susan. What does it feel like? What do you see? What do you feel? And then say, my name is Mary, which isn't true. So you make a truthful statement that you know to be true, and you make a statement that is not true, that you know to be untrue, and feel the difference. Start there. Once you've got that, then you can start going further with your discernment and further with your alignment, and it becomes second nature. You know, somebody can walk into your path and say, oh, you know, do you want to come and have a cup of coffee with me? And you can instantly, that person isn't in alignment with me. The place he wants to have a coffee in isn't in alignment with me. Coffee's not in alignment with me per se at all. I don't drink it, but there's something about him that is good. And I think perhaps I should talk to him for maybe 15 minutes, but we'll go somewhere else. And it's all very fast. And you analyze everything. So what I would say to any starseed is follow this. Now, if you're in a state of complete confusion, because lots of newly awakened starseeds are, and they're like, this person, I don't understand why that person's saying this, and this person's contradicting that person. It's not about what you are seeing in your outer reality. That is simply a reflection. It's simply a tool. Everything is inside you. Everything is inside you as a being. So go within and learn about what that is. That's where we start. We start with self. So if it takes meditation, yoga, creativity, writing, reading, whatever it may be, if you are so confused that it is getting you down and you're waking up in the morning like, oh, just don't know what I'm doing with myself. I don't know what's right. I don't know what's wrong. I know I'm waking up, but it's confusing me. My suggestion there would be take some time off. The nines say to me that the hiatus, which we call holiday in the UK, you would call it a vacation in America. I don't really know where hiatus even comes from, but that's what the word the nine use. The hiatus is as important as the work. So when you're on your mission, you think, right, I'm writing, I'm reading, I'm doing a workshop, I'm teaching. You're on the path of action. The hiatus in alignment is also the path of action. It's not inaction or no action. It is relaxation and rest. And this will give you time to assimilate and process. So we do need to get that rhythm right between action and doing. And it's not a case of, oh, I can't be bothered. I don't want to do anything. I don't really know where to start. That's kind of lethargy. we're not going to put our feet up and just lie on the sofa with a packet of crisps and a remote control. We are going to take active hiatus. So that might mean a yoga retreat. It might mean a holiday abroad. It might simply mean taking a few days off. And you will know when the time to get back to the mission is, or back to work, because it will happen naturally. Once you relax, you actually bring your mission to you, because the confusion goes. You can think, I'm so confused. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if Magenta Pixie's right. I don't know if Donald Trump should be the president. I'm sick of it all. I'm just going to give up. That's a good thing. Give up in a active way. Just take some time off. Go watch the football, or veg out in front of the telly for a day, whatever it takes, because as you relax,
turn it off,
and you start to feel good again, and all that irritation's gone, then the path will show itself to you, and you think, now I can really start to analyze this person or that person. I can listen to Magenta Pixie and look at why Donald Trump's the president, because I'm relaxed. It's about letting go. It's about surrender. These are important things for the starseeds. And I think the most important thing, though, is lots of starseeds will think they're getting it wrong. They will say to me, this is happening to me. I don't know where to go. I think I've got it wrong. I'm stuck. I'm not spiritual. Everyone else is spiritual. I try so hard to be spiritual, but I'm not. I can't do it. All of that. There is no right or wrong way to do this. If you are genuine, as in your desire to take this path, to help others, to make the world a better place, to go into this ascension process, if your desire is genuine, that in itself is the most important aspect of this, because your desire is pure, and you are one of the individuals that the nine say have a pure heart. So when you have a pure heart and your intention is pure, your desire is pure, you can't get this wrong. And people talk about hijacking, and they need protection from the dark. Whilst that's true on one level, your purity of intention is your protection. And people will say, well, what if you're naive? What if you're gullible? Well, on one level, it actually is a good thing to be gullible in certain ways. When you're gullible, you accept everything. You're open-minded. But then you must create a boundary within that. You don't want to be gullible so that you believe every single thing and become completely lost and believe, that pigs fly or whatever, which they do in another dimension, but not in this reality as yet that I'm aware of. Anyway, I haven't seen one.
I want to go to that one.
So that's what I mean. It's about balance. It's about balance, and it's about feeling our way. Every starseed, once they activate beyond that double helix into the triple helix formation, so they'll be somewhere between a double helix and a triple helix. This doesn't mean that a scientist is going to look at your DNA and see a triple helix. They might. What I'm talking about here are etheric quantum strands that are actually in what scientists call junk DNA. That is not junk DNA. That is your connection to unity and your connection to the all, and that is the configuration we are moving back to. So the minute you move out of that linear thinking, that double helix formation, you have access to that knowing and that memory that will show you everything that's ever happened, everything that's happening now, and everything that ever will happen. So you are able to access this alignment and this resonance, this inner compass that guides you to this, inner North Star. And in the Bible, it talks about these shepherds, the wise kings following the star. Well, you can take that as a metaphor as well as being literal. Indeed, we can follow astrological alignments and real stars, but we also can follow the inner North Star, which is the alignment to bliss. And that is a star within, because it shines like a star, and it's celestial. It's made of celestial material. So we all are in a star. That's why we're in a stargate. So many ways to look at this. And when you see this in its unified self, you realize that as a starseed, you cannot get this wrong if you have purity and pure intention. You cannot get this wrong. You are guided, you are led, you are pre-programmed for this. Follow your bliss, follow your joy. And I know that that's difficult. Sometimes people are stuck in situations. They might be in jobs that they don't like. The way to remove yourself from these situations is relax into it, go into acceptance, go into trust. It's easier said than done, I know, especially when you've got to juggle material, linear situations like money. But it is very much a balance between working in the best possible way in a linear reality in the physical world and having the trust and the knowing and the surrender that you will have all you need, because it isn't about you having all you need. It's about the collective moving into their next stage of evolution. And that's the reason you came here. So many ways to look at this.
It sounds like, and I resonate with this. It sounds like if you stay with the heart of your intentions, the intentions of your heart, it's almost like a magnet. So you do have like a protective field around you. And at the same time, you're pulling stuff to you that matches you.
Yes. And you're radiating as well.
Yeah. And the other thing I'm noticing too is that people are connecting in that etheric but it's transforming into the physical. They'll say, hey, I get a phone call. Hey, I know I'm supposed to help you. And you can tell it's not agenda. You can tell it's pure, because it's the same. It's a mirror. It's a mirror.
That is happening. It's happening in a very focused, real, genuine way. However, again, we have to look at balance and boundaries. It can also be misinterpreted. For example, when someone is newly awakened or has been awake for a while but hasn't particularly evolved too quickly within the spiritual expansion, sometimes they can have misunderstandings. So someone might see you and think, oh, I've got to speak to Todd. I urgently need to speak to Todd. Now, that may come from a genuine place, because they really do need to speak to you, and you will know, you will have that resonance. Or it might be someone that will have a dream that they need to speak to you, and they'll write to you and say things like, I have to talk to you, Todd. We need to speak to each other urgently. I need to speak to you within the next 24 hours. Your guides know who I am. You ask your guides, my name is, say, Jane or whatever, and your guides will confirm to you that you know me. Now, that may be completely genuine. You ask, I do. Yeah, I do know this person. We shared a life together, or we were resonating. Or it might simply be that person is sort of out of balance a little bit and is misinterpreting the great gathering as needing to talk to you, Todd. And seeing you as the only focus of the great gathering. And I bring this up because obviously this will happen to any starseed who is becoming well known, and lots of people know them and watch their videos or see them talk. So anyone in that position, obviously I'm talking about myself. Yes, I've had emails like that. So that's what I mean. So one has to work within the genuine, and you don't want to upset anyone, because you can't say, oh, well, you're a genuine person that I need to connect with, and sorry, you're getting misunderstood. I have many people. I had someone say to me only the other day, you talk, Magenta, about unity and connection with your family of light and with your starseed family, yet I only want to talk to you for 15 minutes on Skype, and you won't talk to me. So why aren't you walking the talk? You talk about unity, but you won't speak to me. And I understand what that person's saying, and I can completely see where they're coming from. But from my perspective, if I've got 150 people that all want to talk to me for 15 minutes on the same day, it's not possible in linear reality. Therefore, the way to communicate with that wonderful family of light that you adore and love, genuinely, you have to do it in things like we're doing now.
Yeah, I agree with you totally, because I'm snowed under. I was gonna ask you too. There's another thing I think that starseeds are going through, because they are the awakened heart, and we could call them empaths, whatever you want to call them. Is so that as they're making this transition, and I love the way you put it, because it's like we've been walking around. We were the third dimension. We've got these other dimensions walking right next to us, so we can't see. So now you got like this split of the three. So you've got these starseeds who are walking in that 4D to 5D bridge, and they're over here, but we're still in a physical reality with them. And what happens is you have these people who are pure of heart, who are just in a different place, who are pulling at you or taking shots at you, and I think starseeds at this point are struggling with that, because they don't want to be mean, but they know better than to be used. and to give their power up. So that's been kind of a struggle. Do you have any
I
thoughts on
agree.
that?
Absolutely, that does happen, and it happens in stages. So you'll have unawakened individuals within 3D who are pure of heart, but are, you know, covered in all this sort of trapping system and traumas and everything that they haven't dealt with, and they will pull at you because they're operating from their ego aspect. So it's a case of, I've invited you to this function and you're not going to come, you're horrible, you're mean, I don't want to talk to you anymore, why have you upset me like this, that kind of thing, when you haven't sort of done anything. So you have people pulling on your energy there, and this can occur within spiritually aware individuals as well, because you can have spiritually aware individuals that are worried about something and think, well, if I speak to this person, then maybe that will help me get a bit more famous or get a bit more money. So I'll speak to this spiritual person and see what I can take from them. And when you're at the point of a starseed surrounded by that energy coming at you, or if you're a teacher of starseeds in that position, you have to work with boundaries. And again, it comes back to that alignment. Does this feel right? This person's trying to use me a little bit. Am I prepared to compromise and allow myself to be used a little bit because it's going to benefit sort of 400 people over there? Or am I going to take the alignment and not allow myself to be used at all and bring down my boundaries? And unfortunately, that means I can't help those 400 people over there, but then I can help the 400 people over here. We have to balance everything. So that's very much something that all the starseeds will be going through on different levels. And one way to deal with this, as I've said, alignment is one. Working out, where are your boundaries? And, you know, your boundaries aren't set. You can move them. For example, my boundaries may be set where I will not tolerate someone screaming in my face and saying, Magenta, I hate you. I won't tolerate that. I'll have nothing to do with that person, much as I love them. But if that's one of my children saying, Mum, I hate you, my boundaries are going to move a little bit because it's my child. So, you know, we are going to work with our boundaries here. But the other way of utilizing help with this is gratitude, because everything is a learning curve. Everything is a mirror, remembering that the outside reality that you see is an externalized presentation of all that is you in its true form. For there is only one soul, there is only one unified dimension, the 0 point, the Christ, the God, source, whatever you want to call it. So when we look at that externalized presentation of ourselves and we see that it's a great learning curve, then we can be in gratitude for it. So if somebody's pulling on your energy and you're getting triggered by that, don't pull on my energy. You know, you're draining me. You're being a psychic vampire. I need that energy for me. Bang, down comes your boundary and you go off and you get triggered. Or you might go the other way into complete serenity. You bypass everything. You don't integrate. And you just think, you can't affect me. I am in the most wonderful zone. I bless you, my child, and all this stuff. That's going off as well. We have to integrate and transcend simultaneously. Integration and transcendence simultaneously creates the blue star fire that we need, that gives us this momentum to take this trajectory, to create this new earth, to go through these stargates, to become the stargate. So gratitude can really help, because this can help us to take integration and transcendence simultaneously, because it's not utterly transcendence, which is bypassing, and it's not just integration alone without the higher feeling of peace and serenity and harmony that transcendence brings us. So we take both of them together, and gratitude can help us to do this. So it's like, thank you for trying to sort of take my energy. Thank you for being a psychic vampire and draining all my energy, because you've shown me a mirror. You've taught me something. You've taught me about my boundaries. You've taught me about my energy field. And the more gratitude you have to these situations, these people, the more you create a reality where you experience things to be grateful for, because you are creating gratitude, and gratitude is a code. Gratitude gets set within that matrix. If you want to use the analogy of a computer system or database, gratitude is a code. It goes into your own personal frequency, which is a 6th dimensional frequency, and then it comes down the dimensions and manifests within 3D. So gratitude is a great one to do, along with integration at the same time. But yes, every starseed will be going through this. And a lot of starseeds have this with family members. And that's really difficult when you love these people. They're your family, they're your blood relatives, and they will trigger you more than anyone and pull you off your path. Again, gratitude will help, but not in a way where you are, oh, I'm really, really grateful for you, without integrating it. Because it's okay to be cross. It's okay to look back and think, oh, goodness me, my brother did this or my mother did that 10 years ago or yesterday or whatever. It's normal to be cross. It's normal to be angry about it. No one is saying that you need to ignore all these emotions. They need to be integrated. They're messages. It's like, why am I angry with what my mother did 10 years ago or what my brother did yesterday? Why am I angry? Why am I triggered? What is it in me that how can I learn from this? And you can really feel good when you act in such a way that is of integrity. You can sit back and think, you know what, I really handled that. That guy that had road rage at me and screamed out the window, you know, you're in the wrong lane. I didn't sort of turn around and make a rude gesture at him and beat my horn. I actually was okay with it, without going into complete transcendence. I integrated that very quickly, and I'm proud of myself. And then when that happens, you create more situations in your life, and then you start to like yourself. And then the next thing that happens is you start to love yourself, and you look at yourself, you think, you know what, I like you, I'm proud of you. This is not a third dimensional way of thinking. Most third dimensional thinking individuals will look in the mirror and think, well, no, I don't particularly like you. Why should I? I'm not supposed to like you. I'm certainly not supposed to love you. I'm not going to love myself. That's really egotistical. No way would I do that. And of course, when you come out of that and you start to move into these higher dimensional ways of thinking, and you externalize everything, you externalize yourself, and you think, okay, yeah, I like you, to yourself. I like this person that's me. I love this person that's me. This person's my best friend. All of this is all part of this intrinsic sort of spiral that we're going through, that is integration, evolution. It helps with everything. So loving ourselves is a big, big, big one as well.
What about is one other thing about the star seeds? I appreciate that answer. It was a great answer. A lot of people are benefiting from that. Star seeds, for many star seeds, were in the background for a long time. They had the same type of path, that they were the black sheep, the crazies. Is it important? Do they all need to step up and be heard? Are they the teachers leading the way? If they are, is that, or is everybody's role different?
Everybody's role is different. Everybody's role is unique. But yes, every starseed will have a trajectory, a potential trajectory in front of them, where they step up and they take their place within this, and they speak and they are heard. However, that can be done in very, very different ways. Some are doing this in very passive, gentle ways. They're healers. They work with crystals. They put their energy into crystal and rock. They don't necessarily get on YouTube and start talking 19 to the dozen like I do. You know, they are unknown to us, but they are working just as much as we are, through crystals, through rocks, through purification of different parts of the planet, through higher dimensional connection, through working as on astral levels and in dimensions above that. So there are many, many ways. Everybody will have a unique path, but everybody will step up now is the time the veils are lifted, and we are being seen. And the reason why we had to be in the background, it had to be timed, it had to be in divine timing, because if you look at this planetary system prior to this great gathering and this uprising, this indigo uprising, then you would see a service to self controlled structure. And if one or even two or three beacons of light, open-hearted, loving starseeds that are positively polarized, step up, they can easily be extinguished. There's so few of them. And that is what happened to the forerunners of this movement. There are many that actually did step up and were and lost their lives for this cause that's occurring now. And we honor those. We honor the ancestors for that. But if you look at an entire collective, especially with the internet, all coming up doing the same thing, It's like, well, they can't target this bunch because what about this bunch over here? And even if they target that bunch and that bunch, then there's another one over here. It's like in that Star Wars film when Darth Vader goes to strike down Obi-Wan. He says, if you strike me down, I will rise up more powerful than before. And he holds the sword in the, he holds the lightsaber in his alignment, in that vertical alignment, and allows Darth Vader, because he struck down one, he then goes into the collective and comes up as many. So that's basically what's happened. That whole Star Wars famous part, from that film is an extreme metaphor, an extreme analogy for why we were in the background. And why were we the black sheep? Well, because we had to be different. We couldn't come in and be the same, because we wouldn't get our memories back. Because if we're the same as everyone, they're lost. If you want to look at it from that point of view, they're lost and trapped within this system. So the light had to send in those that have done this before. Those are from higher dimensions, different planetary systems with a higher DNA configuration, a capacity for a higher DNA configuration, in order to release this or assist with this releasing. There's no way they could come in outside of planet Earth to do this in a physical sense. They had to incarnate in, and only then would the group soul collective create the outside of planet Earth, as in the light beings, the light ships around the planet, the UFOs. That's the group soul collective in its various manifestations. That's created at the same time through our mirroring. It's all a simultaneous dance, all a simultaneous movement. So these individuals would be the black sheep, because they would come in, they'd be lost and alone, and they knew that they would go through this. They knew that it would be tough, but they would always have support in some way. And even when they were left completely alone, to the point where they thought they had no support, they actually did. But they needed to go through these dark night of the soul situations where they were on their own in order to empathize. You talk about being an empath. We have to empathize with those that are lost in order to understand what they're going through. Otherwise, as a human being, in an ego sense, we might not have any compassion or any understanding. So why would we even need to help other people? When we've gone through that ourselves and we have the understanding and the empathy, that helps in the creation of the memory. It's like, I've been through this dark night of the soul. I've now come out the other side. Now I remember what I'm here to do. So that's why they were in the background. That's why they're the black sheep.
Now, ET Star System Family Visitation. This has occurred to me, my partner, over the last few weeks. It's becoming more and more of a physical materialization. Other people have talked about it. Some have seen full materialization. These are our aspects, the you, me, we, and it. These are on some end of the spectrum, seem to be separate from us, because we're a little bit of 3D, a little bit of 4D, a little bit of 5D. Are we going to be seeing more and more of this in the collective? Is it going to be
something? Yes, absolutely. I mean, we're going galactic, so this is part of it. If one focuses on that only, as in, I'm waking up spiritually because I want to see ETs and I want to be contacted by ETs. There are individuals out there that are focusing completely on that trajectory. That is not going to take them into the experience that they're looking for, and it may even take them into a negative or dark experience, because when they open up to that trajectory, there are beings that can then come in as trickster entities, because this person wants an ET, so let's give them an ET. So we move that away. That is not the trajectory. That is not the focus. This is a byproduct of our ascension. So what we're doing here is we're externalizing ourselves in everything. We're externalizing ourselves into the entire environment that we're in, all the places we go, the frequencies that we come into contact with, the people we come into contact with. That's externalized in a multidimensional sense. So that's externalized into other beings. So yes, they are coming in response to our frequency. They are externalized aspects of us, depending on the level of the dimensional frequency they're from. Now, if you're looking at, say, other third dimensional entities, there's not so much space travel on that level. So if we're going to come into contact with entities that are more physical, they'll be fourth dimensional.
Yeah.
However, someone like you, somebody who's a starseed and who's aware, is going to be attracting beings that are of fifth and sixth and higher dimensional.
Yeah.
So yes, it's you, and yes, it's they're individualized entities in their own right as well.
But I love what you said, is because, you know, there's the saying, don't get caught up in the story. We were talking about our past as we were getting rid of the shadow pieces and all that. But at the same time, I think what part of what you're saying is, don't get stuck on want to see ETs, and don't get stuck on, hey, I was Jesus in a past life, or I was Magdalene in a past life, or I was, you know, King Arthur in a past life, or I was this in a future life. We are who we are here and now for a reason, right? I mean, we are a spiritual entity in a physical body. I mean, we can't get stuck on any of that. Like you said, or you'll miss the reason you came here. Would you?
I would. The only exception to that would be if someone was Jesus in a past life, or holds memories of living that lifetime. It's actually the same thing. And they are, part of their mission is to present as that presentation, and through that teaching can be done and many can be reached within a service to others polarization.
Yeah.
Then it's okay to not fixate or get stuck on, but it's okay to make that quite an important part of your mission, because your mission is to say, I was this individual, or I have these memories. So some because the spiritual teachings from the higher dimensional point of view, or from the memories, are coming in on all different angles. But for most people who are not presenting as a past life person, as part of their work, part of their mission, then working with past life aspects is a tool. It's a tool to assist you with where you are now. So if you have memories, it's good to think, well, why did I experience that in that lifetime? That's because of this. Or it may be that there was a lot of learning that took place in that particular lifetime. And one of the greatest learnings that we can have is to actually realize that in that lifetime we had a particular goal. We've now incarnated to continue that goal, but then we realize, yes, I still have that goal, but I can't do it that way. I have to do it this way. So we're upgrading the way that we work with that mission. So it's a tool to use, but absolutely, if you get fixated and stuck on it, I will say it's okay to get fixated and stuck on it for a while.
Yeah.
It's not that you must never get fixated. When I first had past life memories, I got very, very fixated and completely and utterly stuck for days and days and days, crying my eyes out with these memories that were so traumatic. They were worse than the memories in this life. And I got utterly stuck. At that time, had I stayed there, had I still been stuck on that past life, I would be lost. I wouldn't be able to help anyone. I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing. Yeah. So it's okay to be stuck for a while, because you come out of that and then you think, oh gosh, I was really stuck there. What have I learned? Oh my goodness, what a lot of integration I've been through. What a lot of learning I've had. So it's okay to get stuck on anything as long as it's temporary. Yeah. Then the integration takes place. But to be permanently stuck, that's absolutely not the trajectory. No. It's a byproduct of the alignment, which is when I say you've got an alignment in front of you, which is the path you're on for the planet, but ultimately the direction is to turn it around and go inward. It's this way and that way simultaneously.
Yeah. Now you've written a lot of books, and you've just recently written one. Is that right?
I've written 3, or the 9 have, and I've transcribed them, however you want to put it. But yeah, I've written 3 books. Yeah.
And the last one that you just wrote, what was that one?
So I've got that here. So the last one, this is the Infinite Helix and the Emerald Flame. So it's green and emerald. Mm-hmm. And this is an emerald flame in here, which my partner very cleverly designs all the visuals for me. This is much more like the other 2. This is my first one. So it's quite a little book. You see, it's quite thin, but this teaches immunity to hijacking, your awareness as a matrix and how to be immune from that negative, polarized, false matrix system, if you like. You
Good starter.
Yeah, well, I didn't plan any of this, by the way. I had no idea what the Nine were going to write with this. I thought this was a video. I thought this was another video for YouTube. And it just went on and into all these different directions. And I realized, oh my goodness, this is a book. Had no idea. This one, I intended to write a book. I thought it's time to do another one, but I had no idea this would be a follow-on. So this is Divine Architecture of the Starseed Template. This talks about constructing the matrix. You actually are the architect. So the first one, you're an alchemist. In this one, you're an architect. You construct the matrix. You become the creator. And then this one, I intended this to actually be an analysis of one of the videos I did back in February. I did a piece of channeling back in February called Dark Deeds, Pole Shift, Indigo Revolution and the Law of One. And it was basically in response to a question, why are truthers being cut off their platforms? Why are truthers being kicked off Twitter and YouTube, etc., etc.? Are we going to lose our platforms? You know, are we going to lose our voice? That was the question, and the response came through within that transmission. I thought that transmission was so important that I decided to ask the Nine if they would assist me in doing an analysis of that and perhaps presenting it in book form. And I expected it to be a very small ebook. And so that's how this book starts. And of course, the Nine, as they always do, went off into this whole other exploration of diamond light codes and bilocational, trilocational, multilocational consciousness and Stargate travel. So this ended up being the Infinite Helix and the Emerald Flame, which again, I didn't know what was coming until I started writing. And as you can see, it's much thicker. And I wrote that in 2 months. It was just under 2 months, actually. The other two took 4 or 5 months to write because it was very intense period after the spring equinox, very high energy. And it was daily and nightly, every single night, but not just one concept. With the other two books and with the videos, it's one concept. So I will see the piece of channeling as a monad, as like a snowflake, like a crystal, and everything is contained within that. And then I unravel it as I communicate with the Nine in real time, sort of like a download. That was the same with the books, and they are obviously more expansive little monads or snowflakes. But with this one, there were several all at once, because obviously the book teaches multi-locational consciousness. So it's about embracing multi concepts. And when you move into multi-locational consciousness, then you're in multi-travel and you're in multi-DNA configuration. And we move in and out of this. It's a non-linear process. But ultimately, one of the main messages within this is currently within the Starseed Collective, we are in a process of reconstructing the fifth strand. Now, it's just a model. Some other channel might tell you we're constructing the 987th strand, and they'd be correct from their model. But from the model the Nine use, we're looking at 12 strands, and we're reconstructing the fifth strand, which equates to the fifth dimension. So not every starseed is doing that. Some are working on the third, so they're into the triple helix. Others are beyond the triple helix, so they're reconstructing the fourth strand. So that's just a model. It's non-linear, but that's predominantly where the majority of the Starseed Collective are. And it's like, well, what does that mean? Because it's not really a strand. When they first told me about this, I thought, okay, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm seeing it in a linear way, but it's not really like a strand sort of creating. You've got 1 and then 2 and then 3 and then 4 and then 5. It's non-linear. It's more like you have this much light, and then you have this much light, and then you have this much light, and you are beaming more and more and more light. It's light going quantum, and there is no way to explain this light. No one way to explain it, because as I said earlier, it's a code, it's a frequency. So how do you explain what's happening here so that our brains can understand it in a linear sense? So that's where the fifth strand comes in.
So thank you for that. And I would also say that we couldn't take it all in at the warp speed either. This few people are asking. I think it's magentapixie.com. Is that where they get your books?
MagentaPixie.com is my website. So if you go on there, you'll see all the books. You can click and order them, and that will take you direct to Amazon. So
Okay.
there's a link there for the paperback book. So you'll actually get the copy just like this that will be sent to you, within a couple of days via Amazon, or you can download it onto your Kindle directly and have it
cool.
Immediately.
Very cool.
So the Kindle links are on the website as well.
And then somebody else is asking about the YouTube, but that's Magenta Pixie. Isn't the YouTube Magenta Pixie as well?
I can't remember the exact address for that, but if you type in on Google or whatever search engine you use, Magenta Pixie YouTube, you'll find me. But if you go on my website, magentapixie.com, then there's a little tab saying YouTube, and you can click on there, and you can actually see an archive of all the videos that I've ever done, all in one place. So it'll say video archives. You can just look down the titles and see which one resonates with you and click on it, and you'll be taken to that video. Or there'll actually be a YouTube link on the video, and you can go direct to YouTube that way.
Somebody just put it up there, Magenta Pixie 2012 YouTube. There's another one there. So you guys look through the comments. Okay. I'm gonna download this and then upload it to Google Drive, and then I'll send you the link on this one, so you can do with it an editable link. You can do whatever you want with it, and I'll also put it on our YouTube page.
So you mean our chat?
Yeah.
Oh, so I can put this chat up on YouTube?
Oh yeah,
on my YouTube. Oh wow, that's great. Thank you. I will. That's fantastic.
Yeah, I download them and then upload them to the Google Drive, and then I just send you an editable link so you can do whatever you want with it.
Wonderful. Yeah. Okay, that'll go to my partner because he does all the editing.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I'd love to collaborate again in the future.
Absolutely. Yeah, we've had a wonderful chat.
Yeah, really. Yeah, I like to move fast, and you're like me. You move fast.
Yeah.
We do. I mean, I love it. Yeah, it was very free flowing and a lot of powerful information. And somebody's asking the question. I don't want to leave them out. Will your books go audio at any time?
I've had so many people ask me this, and obviously there are people who don't really like to read and they want to listen. And absolutely, that is certainly something that I would plan on doing. But when, I'm not sure, because obviously when you're working with planning on how you bring out information, it's very much sort of a 50% plan. Oh, I will write this book. Oh, I will do this audio book. And then the 9 come in with a whole other idea. So obviously I work only with 50% planning. The other 50% has to be completely unplanned. And that's how it works. This is how the creative process works. It's a 50-50 between the two of you. So I am planning to do audio books. I am a bit concerned. I don't know if my software's good enough, to be honest. I think I might need to get a better microphone. For an audio book.
I think there's other ways to do it. I don't really like those mechanical robotic voices. You can run them through something like that, but
I agree. It's funny. Somebody made a video with one of my channelings for the first time that I'm aware of with that mechanical voice, and it was so strange to sit and listen to my channeling from the 9 with this little voice. It was very strange. So I would speak it myself.
Yeah, I would too, because I can't listen to those things very long. No matter what it is, it's very difficult. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was saying it's not a person, so you've not got that connection. It's a bit AI-ish, isn't it?
Yeah, it's kind of creepy. I'm always wondering if it's a CIA psyops thing with some kind of subliminal message in it. Please tell your partner I say hello. We send them so much love. Thank you for sharing space with the Soulogy community today. If you like to when you come out with anything, if you would like to, hand it over to me. I'll put it through our network. We've got probably 50, 60,000 hard numbers of people. Very active too, very active. And we're glad to help you in any way we can. I'd love to collaborate again. I'll send you that link, and I'll send you the information on the event in London in case you guys can get over there.
Yes, please do. That would be good. It's my son's birthday the next day, but if we could get away, that would be really nice, actually. It'd be lovely to meet up with you. So, yeah, send me the information. And thank you so much for asking me to be on Soulogy. I had watched, I think, 2 or 3 of your interviews before. I saw the one with Lisa. I watched the whole thing, and the one with Amanda. I watched most of that one, and another lady. And they're so cool because your talks are really chilled, and it's not like a big sort of planned thing. Everyone's just sort of chilled out, and everyone in the chat room. I do quite like Facebook Live for that. It's got a nice energy to it when you get talking. So yeah, thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're very welcome. You have a nice day, Goddess, or a nice evening.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And you have a nice day. Thank you, everyone.
See you later. Y'all take care. Thank you for joining us.